So it's been over a week since Tottenham tasted European glory by lifting the Europa League trophy. And now attention switches to the summer and the transfer window. And already Tottenham have been linked with a stellar name. They've been offered the chance to sign Leroy Sane from Bayern Munich. So today on the Sonny talkSPORT YouTube channel, I'm going to be arguing why Leroy Sané should sign for Tottenham over Arsenal. But before we get into it, if you are new to the Sonny talkSPORT YouTube channel and you're discovering me right now, then now is the best time to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also let me know in the comments down below, should Sané sign for Tottenham or Arsenal? So yeah, I think some Tottenham fans were hoping that our transfer preparations would have started a bit earlier. But we've been linked with the one key name so far, and it's been Leroy Sané. And in the last few days, it's been reported that he has been offered the chance to sign for Tottenham. His agent has seen that he is going to be a free agent, and Tottenham have been made aware of his situation. But he's also been made aware of Arsenal. Arsenal are keen to bolster the left wing position. Both clubs are keen to bolster the left wing position. If you think about Tottenham, they currently have an aging Heung-Min son. They have the likes of Mikey Moore, Wilson Odobert. Same for Arsenal, Gabriel Martinelli. They both want a left winger. Leroy Sané has got really good pedigree. He's come off a season where he's got some good contributions, but at the same time, he has been quite injury prone. So does this make the signing good, or does it make it signing bad? That's the key question that we're going to be talking about today, because there's many issues and there's many positives. But I'm going to start with the positive. Leroy Sane, as I say, 29 years old. You could say that is a positive thing, because Tottenham is a very, very young side full of very inexperienced players, especially in the attack. And Leroy Sane would be more of a leadership quality in that front line, more of a person who's been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt. He was class at Manchester City with Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus in that title winning season. He's gone to Bayern Munich and done the same, won many league titles. He is a stellar player, but at the same time, 29 years old. Is it a bit too old? Is it a bit too on the, towards the twilight years of his career? That's probably the flip side of it. But before I go any further, nearly 80% of you watching this right now are not subscribed to the Sonny talkSPORT YouTube channel. What are you doing? Why are you not subscribed? Come on, we're Europa League champions, and I want to be on the road to 10,000k subscribers by the end of 2025. So yeah, us Europa League champions, we've got to stick together. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Another issue that you could say is his wages. Are Tottenham actually going to pay up for Leroy Sané? Because he's probably on a big chunk of wages at Bayern Munich. And Tottenham, historically, we don't pay up for wages. But I like the idea of the player, because I think he is the perfect winger, whether it be for Ange Postecoglou or another manager in the future. He's direct. He'll go at the fullback. He can, cut in. He can shoot. He can score. He can assist. And that is, what we sort of need in a player. And when we look at the other profile wingers we're currently being linked to, and at the moment it's few and far between, the only other name I've seen is Tyler Dibling, and he's nearly, 10 years younger than Leroy Sané. I just think, if we can get it on a free for a low fee, we should be going for it. We need a squad with experience, especially now we have Champions League football. And Leroy Sané provides that. He is the main thing about that is the case. He will be a leader. He will be, really willing to, assert himself from the front. And, apart from that, when it came to experience, you could say Timo Werner, but be good in the final third and have that ability to win a game when you need someone to turn up. And the only issue is, obviously, at the moment, we're looking at another player from Bayern Munich in the state of Matthias Tel. Do we make that move permanent? I think what will happen is it'll be one or the other, depending on fee. If we can get a cheaper fee for Matthias Tel, less than the 50 million that was being suggested in the January window, I think he would be a more viable option. But at the moment, Leroy Sane, I mean, why not take both? Why not take both to be options? Because, Leroy Sane can also educate those younger players that I mentioned earlier on in the video. And when I'm talking about Arsenal, I feel like Leroy Sané makes more sense to come to Tottenham because the pressure's not going to be on him as much, and he still has that experience of playing in the Premier League again and, playing in Europe on the big stage. Whereas with Arsenal, they probably need to sign someone more senior, more, who's going to... Obviously, it's not going to be... It is quite obvious that Arsenal are a different level above Tottenham at the current stage. Obviously, I think we've had a better season than them, getting Champions League and also winning a trophy. But, Arsenal are under pressure to win the league next year and to win the Champions League. Does Leroy Sané do that for them? I'm not so sure. I can see another Raheem Sterling or a Willian situation for them in regard to him. But for us, it's a good option to have. He's not necessarily going to be a starter, but he's a good option to bring in. And it throws me back to when we signed Ivan Perisic. And I mentioned this to Majestic quite recently on the recent episode of Inside Spurs, which I'll be plugging soon towards the end of the video. But he mentioned Ivan Perisic as like, when he came in, he only was there for a couple of years, but he was a good leader and he offered something that we haven't got in the squad. And we've all argued that have Tottenham got good leaders, I think Leroy Sané would be a good leader, and he just offers that different option in attack that we don't necessarily have at the moment. So that's my main argument when it comes to that. I feel like it's a bit of a no-brainer. I feel like he would go to Arsenal over Tottenham, but if the option's there, why not go for it? I think it would make sense. And as I say, I was also arguing this on the latest episode of Inside Spurs, myself and Majestic appearing on the talkSPORT show, where we discussed that, plus a few other transfer rumours.
Right, before we get to the season review, a couple of quick bits I want to start with, like the latest news that's going around. Thoughts on us being linked with Leroy Sané? Is that the right level of experience this squad might need this going into next season? Because I feel that's what we might be lacking, is a little bit of experience.
Well, he's a winger who would fit the system really well if we do keep Ange. And, he's future's up in the air at Bayern. His contract's coming to an end. I think there were some meetings today about whether or not his future is fully over at Bayern. 29 years old, a bit older profile than what we've been looking at in recent, weeks and years, especially under Ange, under, Johan Langer. But, I mean, you look at his numbers and, 19 goals and assists in all competitions. Not too bad. Mainly, a lot of those came in the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich, won it this year. And I can see why people can maybe be unsure about that signing, because maybe the age profile is not the player that he was when he was at, say, Manchester City.
No.
He's a bit of unwanted goods. But, I mean, if you get him on a free, I mean, the thing that does me is his wages. That's what's going to come down to, isn't it? He will want a fat chunk, and we don't pay up for wages, even though after winning this trophy and the money that we've got from being in the Champions League and the money we can spend. I think Levy with PSR, we can spend 200 million. He'll want a signing on bonus. He'll want, all that sort of stuff, probably goal bonus. Is Levy going to pay it? But the fact he's been offered to us means that, we're circling the right waters, hopefully, when it comes to some transfers. I mean, I'm not fully against it. I guess, the way it looks for our transfer going into this summer is, I think we need a winger as a priority, and a left winger is very important in that. And maybe we don't want to bring in another youngster because we've got Odegaard, we've got Mikey Moore. Son's, a little bit older than Sané as well, 3 or 4 years. So he is the right profile of age as well to sort of, educate the youngsters. He's a good finisher on his day. I can't see too much wrong with it, really. Maybe it would be the wages as the stumbling block.
Yeah, you're right with the wages there, and that's the thing we've seen with experience. But when Conte came into Spurs, of course, he brought in Perisic on a free in a kind of similar way. And I really felt that he added a lot of value to the squad. I think his time at Spurs was underrated. I think Leroy Sané, I've watched him this season, he's still rapid. I think he's that kind of player that can get in behind people. And I think some of the flaws this season has been that ability to get in behind people at the last moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like the pace you mentioned there, Son is lacking that now. He's the other side of 30, and and then the finishing is where I'd say your Mikey Moores and your Odegaards are lacking certain And I guess, I mean, it all depends on Tell. I think that's the telling truth, isn't it? To pardon the pun. Like, are we going to go to Bayern and take him, or are we going to take Sane? I feel like that it'll be one or the other. And
What's your thoughts on Tell? Would you keep him?
do you know what? A couple of weeks in, I would have said no. But then there was some bright spots, weren't there, during that Europa League run, especially where he turned up in certain moments. He's raw. I think that's what it is. He's raw. I think we forget how young he is. He's come across like really well, like, you know, in the media. He stood up, you know, in front of fans, and when, you know, the going got tough. So that side is good. It's just if we can get that fee down a little bit, maybe a 40 million, then, you know, he could maybe be the answer to that wing solution, and then maybe get Sane in as well, and then you've got, you know, another two options there.
Yeah, I think having the bodies next season is going to be crucial, especially with Champions League football, you know, the League Cup competition, the FA Cup as well, and we cannot have a season where we have the Premier League finish like we have on the previous season just gone. So I think hopefully if you could get both of them in, I think, you know, having Tell there as well, obviously you probably know Sane very well from the dressing room, you'd think it'd be a good way to get him in. I'd like to see him come in, and like you said with Tell, I think he's shown great humility amongst the squad. I think he stood up in the right moment. I remember being at Anfield when we got battered 4-0 in the Carabao Cup, the second leg, and he was the one guy coming to the crowd, you know, raring us up. He's a young man. You forget he's got a mature head on his head, and we need leaders in that dressing room.
Yeah, and, you know, playing at a club like Bayern Munich, the expectation there is weekly, you know, even more than us. You know, the expectations are like the same at Real Madrid. You know, they're expected to win the title. They're expected to go far in the Cups and the Champions League as well. And Sane's done it at the top level. He's done it at Manchester City, where he was part of a fantastic front three with Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling. So he knows what it is to win. So, and he's still got that in him, you know. What annoys me is people will straight away go to age. 29 is still young in football. You know, he's still, you know, he's not in the twilight zone yet. You know, I think I saw some Arsenal fans saying, oh, it's like Willian or Sterling when they came to Arsenal. But I feel like our environment would be a bit better than, you know, that Arsenal team that those players went into.
God, if 29's old, I must be ancient. Moving on to someone who's only 10 years younger, but they're at the fresher part of their career, of course. Tyler Dibling from Southampton. Thoughts on that rumour? Because that's the kind of signing that makes sense to Spurs when you look over the years of the kind of players that we have brought in.
Yeah, I mean, back in January, I liked the idea of this, but we sort of didn't know where we were going in, you know, our season, and, you know, the Europa League wins seemed like a mile away. My one worry, I'd say there's two worries of this. Do we need another player like this? Does it then stop the likes of, I mentioned them already, Odegaard, Mikey Moore, you know, playing in similar positions, who have come through our, you know, one's come through our academy. Odegaard we paid a nice fee for, and he showed really good promise this season. Does it stop their growth? That's what worries me. And then I guess with Tyler Dibling as well, the wage, or the price that Southampton want. I mean, I've seen 50,
I've seen 55 million, because I've seen Everton are in for him as well. And I think apparently they've been told the price is 55 million. It's a lot of money.
I guess what Spurs are, what they like, and hence why they've gone down this route, is, you know, you looked at when West Ham signed Jared Bowen from the Championship, these sort of Championship gems. I know he played in the Premier League, but, you know, he's probably a Championship level player, because we saw what Southampton produced this season. They think, like, if he comes to a club like Tottenham, he can then go to that next level and, you know, be really, like, class under a better manager and a better system. But I just feel like there are too many question marks. 55 million for a player like that at this stage of his career, I think it's balmy.
The only time you do that is when it's 5 million for Dele Alli.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the days of that. Like, the thing is, you pay 15 or 20, you're thinking, oh, like, that's not too bad. Like, that, you'd be happy to maybe fault that over. But I just wonder, like, the idea of us signing a winger, which I would say is a priority signing, we need to bring it in a first-team quality player. And, you know, when we look back at last summer, the only player of first-team quality was Dominic Solanke. The rest of them were,
Correct,
you know, youngsters who have shown a lot and they have, like, improved themselves, but we need that base. We need that sort of, you know, we need these leaders.
If you're going anywhere over 50 million for an unproven 19-year-old, you might as well stump up the cash and just go and get Eze and be done with it.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we've seen how he's been in the latter part of the season. It's just
stepped up, isn't he?
Players. Well, yeah, we just want a player who can come in and just sort of, like, you know, start straight as they mean to go on, you know, banging in the goals, banging in the assists. And then, you know, I feel like what we want, especially now we're in the Champions League and how competitive that's going to be. You need a squad that is so rich that they can play all these competitions.
Absolutely.
We don't need numbers really. We just need, high quality, and then the players like Odebear, like Archie Gray, like Bergwall, all the youngsters can then learn off these mature players and then you can look at the squad and go, we're not going to build a squad like Manchester City. We know that, like with two world-class players in every position, but that they can become world-class if they're learning off people with that experience.
Absolutely. Now, just to look at some possible outgoings at the club, this rumour with Cuti Romero going to Atletico Madrid won't let up. He wasn't present on the last day of the season either, which worried me a little bit. I've asked questions why, and people don't seem to know. I don't know if you know, son.
I think he was hungover. I mean, he nearly fell off the bus. He had that many beers in him, so I think that's why. Dodgy head.
But he could have at least put some sunglasses on and been there. But yeah, look, that's a big worry for me. But the thing is, I don't know if you saw his social media post, said that's the right path about winning. He's posted his delight on winning, and of course, he is a born winner. What he's done with his country, he's won everything. He's now won at club level with Spurs, something that, probably looked very unlikely for him. Now, with that taste and that celebration, with all his teammates, with the likes of Son, do you think that will give him the sort of the taste to want more with Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen mixed reports of, obviously this news has come out again today that Atletico are keen, but then I've seen that, after the win, he might also be interested to stay. I think what happens with Romero is it's a bit of a tricky situation because he's still got a bit of time left on his contract. We paid, a handsome fee for him between 40 and 50 million. I think Daniel Levy will want a big fee in return. I'm thinking, people will laugh 80 million.
I agree.
We also have seen on his day that he can. I mean, in that run-in the Europa League, in that final, the way he was rattling Harry Maguire, got me giddy. I was loving that. It was a proper old school battle. And also, what's good is when Atletico Madrid came in, you're thinking that's a match made in heaven. If he isn't a Diego Simeone player, I don't know who is. So, and they will stump up that cash. But Atletico Madrid do stump up cash when they need to for João Felix or Julian Alvarez. They will pay. So we've sort of got the ball's in our court on this deal. And then what Tottenham should do if they do sell him, because I'm sort of, if he wants to leave, then he can go. He's got that trophy. He delivered on the day. Fair play to him. Then just take that money straight away and go and sign Mark Gahey before Newcastle do. And that's how that's how you then go on to that next level. You sign a player of who's a little bit younger and of English quality who can really team up well with Mickey van der Ven, I think.
I agree with that. And the thing is, if you just look at the numbers, when Virgil van Dijk got signed to Liverpool from Southampton for that big fee at the time, Cuti's only a year or so older than what Virgil van Dijk was at the time, and we've seen how important he's been to that team. If Romero goes to Atletico Madrid, he's the type of player that could actually go and win them La Liga. Like he is that important of a player and as a personality in a dressing room, especially being under the guidance of Simeone. As you said, he's perfect for Simeone. What would you rather do? Would you rather cash in on him now or keep him?
I mean, it's so annoying because I mean, this has been a flip-flop season for me. All my opinions, I feel like I'm backtracking left, right, and centre.
Same.
But like after his performance he put in, I thought if you can do that every week, like I want you to stay forever. But if his heart is set on going, then then no one's bigger than this club at the end of the day. We saw that in Harry Kane, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale. If you're keen to go and you want to go and progress your career somewhere else, then fair play to you.
So let me know what you thought of that in the comments down below. Do you want to sign Leroy Sane? Yes or no? And if you have enjoyed this video, then leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, up the Spurs, we're Europa League champions. I'm going to keep saying it. Goodbye. Ciao.